Hello, this is CO4E Systems here, and this is the Gunblade Build Diary Part 11, the 2020 September Robodojo. This event was held with strict COVID-safe regulations, including a full risk assessment and a required list of items like masks. To put this into context, this is not only my first featherweight only event, it's also the first time I've run a featherweight spinner. This was always going to be a steep learning curve, as there were some of the top UK featherweight robots at the time at this event, so there was plenty of opportunities to learn. Some of the teams there have had a wealth of experience with various robots and various weight classes. So the format of Robodojo is relatively simple. You have a round robin of 5 fights, and any teams that are tied on points at the end of that have a deciding fight to determine the final positions. This is done by priority from the higher placing teams down to the lower placing teams. So if we run out of time, then it will just stop at somewhere in the middle. Next up, we'll go through my fights with Gunblade and post-fight analysis. The first fight was up against MAXX, another new featherweight spinner from Team Panoramic. The videos for these fights can either be seen on Joe Brown's YouTube channel or Team Panoramic's YouTube channel, both of which I've linked below. MAXX is a vertical spinner with exposed wheels, so my strategy there was basically just go for the wheels and hope to immobilise him that way. Actually, on this match it all went to plan, although the spinner took a little while to spin up. MAXX lost a wheel somewhere in the middle of the fight, and then all I had to do was take the other wheel off at the end, which I managed to do with the weapon. So that was nice. It was first battle against another new robot and first win. So after that fight, it was just a case of swapping the batteries out, charging batteries, getting ready for the next fight, and so on. The next one was against CAPT spinner, which is very much an up-and-coming featherweight design, kind of similar to Huge or Gabriel from BattleBots and Robo Wars respectively. The aim here really was to get the weapon spun up and aim for the wheels and hope for the best, really, because his spinner was quite lethal. Unfortunately, it didn't quite go to plan. Got hit just on the side of the weapon, and it's basically took the top panel out, and the weapon just fell out the robot entirely, which is pretty spectacular, but it's not the way to go, not a nice way to go. So after that one, the repairs looked pretty extensive, but it was just a case of putting the top panel back down and repairing it. Luckily, in my toolbox I had some spare M6 screws, so I just replaced the short ones on the top panel with those longer ones. After all the repairs were done and the robot was ready for the next fight, the next one would be against CONKER 4. This is a robot that has undertaken quite a lot of iterations and is an experienced team. It's got an egg beater weapon which is similar to a drum spinner. This fight, my only target really was the side pods and the wheels. Everything else was pretty heavily armoured. I did manage to do a bit better this fight, although the ending was effectively the same. The weapon was falling out again, and the robot was chucked out the arena by the force of the egg beater spinner. The repairs after this fight were pretty straightforward, so it enabled me to get ready for the fourth fight, which was against another veteran featherweight robot called BINKY. Now BINKY has a big vertical spinner that, as I found out later, actually it weighs heavier than the spinner on Captain Jack's spinner, so this can really hit like a truck when it's at full speed. The BINKY fight went pretty similarly to the Captain Jack fight, where I lost the weapon quite early on, and then I was basically defenseless as it got me from the sides and back. So under the Robodojo rules, you're allowed to tap out, so I tapped out then when I knew the battery would be exposed. Unfortunately, after that fight, because I've used a mild steel weapon shaft, it had been bent out of shape by BINKY, and so I couldn't repair the robot for the final fight, which would have been against Telekinesis. Telekinesis is an undercutting horizontal spinner, which has again been under a few iterations, so it's an experienced team. So from that event there's quite a lot of lessons learned, so I'll go through this list in numerical order. I definitely underestimated the forces involved with featherweight spinners, so I need to upgrade the weapon shaft from mild steel to a stronger steel. Not only that, the weapon assembly has to be fixed more securely to the robots, so I don't have the case in the Captain Jack fight where the opponent was able to take the top panel off and therefore the weapon fell out. This ties in well with the third point, where the top half of the chassis is vulnerable to verts by nature of its shape, so they could hit the supporting frame of the chassis before they actually hit the weapon. Also, I found the weapon belt was too loose and the stock motor mounts were not strong enough. And finally, there was some empty space in the chassis, so there's actually a chance to reduce the height of the robot and therefore saving weight for more upgrades. So this next picture is a picture of the stock motor mounts after taking the chassis apart. This was done back at home after the event. There's another picture here that is the damage to the front top panel of the chassis after the event, either done by Captain Jack spinner or BINKY or both. So now we come to the solutions going forward to take Gunblade from Gunblade 1 to 1.5. The first one was suggested by a fellow Roboteer, which is a 20mm shoulder bolt to replace the mild steel weapon shaft. After that, it's then to redesign the top half of the chassis with a better shape so that more weapons exposed. Also, I'd like to improve the weapon motor mounting to the chassis. This will likely be a custom motor mount from ALUMINIUM, and then it will also be nice to be able to adjust the belt tension to then be able to fine-tune the belt tension in between matches, making sure the weapon belt doesn't fall out. And finally, for Gunblade 1.5, I'd like to reduce the height of the whole robot, saving weight, and then adjust the weapon motor position so it's in line with the new height. Here is a picture of the 20mm shoulder bolts I've ordered, and these have a lot stronger steel alloy than the mild steel ones. Then we have a sneak preview of the front top plate of the new chassis, which as you can see is a lot better shape for engaging the weapon and fighting against the vertical spinners. So that about wraps it up for this part of the Gunblade build diary, and I'll see you on the next video.